Hey guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you've been around, welcome back. Today, we're going to cover team building with Pixnub software. Alright, so what we're going to go over now is building teams, and we're doing this in Photoshop with Easy Team Builder by Pixnub. So I'm going to go ahead back out of here and go into GotPhoto. So we have everything extracted, we have everything uploaded, and you'll see everything's in one folder. Now we'll go ahead and let this load. You're going to notice that every single player, every single team, so we've got this gray team, also coaches are in there. They were tagged as a player just to make it easy. And every team. So now we've got this green team, we've got the red team, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do now is come up here. Now we have a list of what team each player is on that was uploaded into the GotPhoto system. So if I come up here to individual actions, and this button right here is going to be your best friend. Resort photos to albums. So what this is going to do is it's going to create an album based on, we use group, you can use teacher, you can use group then teacher, so on and so forth. And then all I'm going to do is hit resort photos. So now what this is doing is it's actually taking every single photo and resorting it into its respective album. So that way I don't have to do that one at the shoot and or manually click and drag into each individual folder. As I'm talking, the computer's working, so let it work. There's a lot of little things like this that the GotPhoto system has that most of us just aren't taking advantage of. And realistically, it doesn't take all that long. Again, we've got 250 photos here. So not 250 kids, 250 photos that it has to go through and separate. And we're done. So you can see how quick that was. Now I do have two kids here that remained in the extracted folder. And so what that was these were either kids that were not in our spreadsheet or were tagged incorrectly or what have you. So my guess is that they probably weren't in our spreadsheet, and so we had to manually add them. So luckily with these teams, I can see that the lofts and AFIA staffing. And so what I'm going to do is go back to my photo management. There's a AFIA and there's the lofts. So what I'm going to do is go back into my extracted folder, and I want to make sure that these kids are in the correct team before I export this folder, because I don't want to be missing any kids out of the team folders. So what I'm going to do is select all these kids, move, and this was AFIA, so I'm going to move this to another album, AFIA staffing, and move photos. And same thing here for the lofts. Now, if everything is done correctly, this extracted folder should be completely empty. Go back to photo management, and now you can see that everything was created for me. So I don't have to create these folders. GotPhoto does it for me, which is a time saver in itself. Again, this isn't bad because I've got 5 teams, but when you've got 300 teams, it's a complete pain in the butt. and it takes hours to do that. So let the system work for you. That's what we're paying them for. So now when I go to FIA staffing, you can see it's everybody I need, right? So it's a couple ways to do this. If we just need a single team, we can go to album actions and download the album. However, we're going to go here to more. We're going to download original photos. Okay, so what this does, when I download this, it's going to download it as a zip file, but it's going to keep the albums in contact. So it's not going to it's not going to disperse those photos out of the albums. So I'm going to have Sparta YMCA volleyball, and then in that folder, I'm going to have FIA staffing, the lofts, so on and so forth. So everything's going to be still separated. Okay, so we've got our zip file that's been downloaded. So all I'm going to do is go here, show in folder, and then I'm actually going to create a new folder. And we're going to call this teams, because that's what I'm extracting into there. So we'll go extract all. And we're going to extract into that teams folder. All right. So now that's extracted and it pulls up the folder. I like to view these in large icons, but it's completely up to you. So I'm going to create a folder here, and we're just going to call this team. So now if I hold control, I can copy this into each of these folders, because I'm going to create, and then I'll let go of control on the last one so it just moves it. Now when I click in here, I've got my team folder, and then I've got all my images. Now, the image we're going to use for this league is the arms crossed. So all I'm going to do is find all of the arms crossed photos. Make sure you grab the coach. All right, so I have all of them, and then I'm going to stick them in the team folder. Now, one way that I like to cross-reference this is I have 9 items in here, and I'm going to come back here. I'm looking at FIA staffing, and I only have 8 access codes. Now, the reason that is off is because I have a coach. So the coach is that 9th access code, but because he was attached to a player, I have to add him into that total count. So that lets me know that I did not miss a player when I selected them in here. Okay, so it's just a good way to cross-reference. And then what I'll do is I'll start going through the rest of these. But let's go ahead and pull up Photoshop again. Easy Team Builder is right here. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm just going to pull this up so I can see it. All right, so first things first, this is very easy to kind of navigate. So I'm going to go to my cutouts folder, and all I'm doing is looking for that team folder that we just created. Boom. Select folder. Now I've got my images. I do have a preset that I use, but I haven't set it up on this computer, so I'll show you how to do that. Layer names. again, if you want specific players in there, you can go file name. Otherwise, I just go numerical. Layout, I want the center to be the tallest. And again, this is all personal preference, so you can do that. Overlap, I want the center in front. And again, personal preference. You can go left in front, right in front, so on and so forth. Row spacing, I usually do 175 for player scaling. Face and feet alignment, okay? So this, if you want it to line up their heads, you're going to do 0. If you want it to line up by their feet, you're going to do 100. We line them up by their feet, so that way they're proportionately correct. And perspective scaling, I put it 2. Sometimes I'll put 4 if I've got multiple rows. I mean, the perspective scaling is simply so each row back, it's going to make them actually look like they're further back. So it's going to angle them back slightly, because right here I'm a lot bigger than I am here. And so what it does, it keeps that perspective based on that scale. So just play around with that. But I set mine typically anywhere from 2 to 4. The biggest thing is to keep it consistent. So we're going to go ahead and build this team. So here's our number of rows. I do have a cheat sheet, which we'll go over on that. But for 9, we're going to do 5 and 4 and continue. And you can see now what it's doing is it's going to place all of these kids. It's going to resize them. And then put them into the template for me. I'm completely hands off. The program is doing this all for me. And then we're just going to kind of move people around. So they're fairly large for this specific template. So the next time I build with this, I may bring this player scaling down. So again, it's one of those you got to kind of play with from template to template. All right, so now the beauty of this program is I've got row 1 and I've got row 2, and within each of these rows, which you probably can't see because my ugly mug is here. Let me pull it up here for the video. All right. So we've got row 1, and then we've got all the players. So we can move each player individually, or we can move the row if we want. All right. So what I'm going to do is pull this row, pull row 1 up. Actually, we're going to go ahead. They're all very large. So we're going to Control T. That's your transform. And then I'm just going to pull them down. Make them quite a bit smaller. Just to fit them on the template. All right, so row 1, I'm going to pull up, and I'm going to hide their feet behind the words. All right, and then I'm just going to spread them out. Obviously, we've got 5 in the first row, so I'm going to move this girl. If you click and drag, you just defeated the whole purpose of lining them up by their feet. So I'm going to click, hold shift, and now I can't move up and down, but I can move side to side. Or I can move up and down, but I can't move side to side. So it's only going to let you directionalize one way or the other. So just make sure you move to the side, and then it's going to keep them all proportionate. All right, and then I can move row 2, pull them up, and I personally, with even numbers, I like to keep coach on the side. Again, personal preference. Now, because of how we had it set up, tallest was in the middle. That's why coach was in the middle, and tallest was in front. I don't want the focus to be on coach, so I'm going to pop him to the side. So I'm still we're still a little big here. All right, so all I'm doing is making sure these kids are in windows so we can see them. All right, I'm gonna have to pop that. We're just gonna take that and bring it down here for now. So we'll go ahead and transform. Oops. So I just smushed them. So what I accidentally did was I hit shift and that smushed them. So if I hit escape, it's gonna put them back. Control T, and now I can pull them down again. Okay. So now I've got my kids placed, and again, you can tweak this, right? So make it look good. Now one thing, I have not set up my guidelines yet, so one thing I like to do is hit my crop tool, go to 5x7, turn it, hit escape. Okay, so what this does is it gives me, I'm gonna show my rulers, it gives me my 5x7 crop. So now I can bring these guidelines down, hit escape, and now as long as I have everything within these 5x7 guidelines, whether the parents order an 8x10 or a 5x7, I'm safe. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the year over here. I'm going to probably put our logo right there, and then we'll save this. So when we go to save, actually we got lots of cleaning up to do. So we're going to go ahead and scroll in here, and I'm going to click on this girl, grab my erase tool. Now the brackets, right bracket makes it bigger, left bracket makes it smaller. If you hold shift and you hit your left bracket, it makes it a softer brush. So it's going to fade. If you hold shift and hit the right bracket, you've got a hard brush, and you can see the difference. Let me do the same thing on this side. So you can see the difference between the erasers. Okay, so for detailed stuff like this, I like to use a little more of a hard brush. When I start getting towards them, I'll kind of go with a medium brush. So that way I don't just absolutely crush any details. All right. And then I'm just going through and cleaning up some of this stuff. So click on the coach, pull some of that out. This foot here doesn't help with the composition, so I can just get rid of it. Again, all I'm doing is cleaning up what isn't necessary. Little smiley faces. This is the tedious part of building teams. Now, you don't have to have the smiley faces. A lot of people use green feet, or green mats. It's totally fine. We use the smiley faces for our littles, and it's really just our littles. But we like using the different color feet to have something to identify. So now, as you can see, that looks a lot better. It's a lot cleaner down there. Okay. So yeah, this looks good. We're going to go ahead and save this. And I'm going to go to 2023, blah, 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 go to teams. Now, what I'm going to do is I save this as the name. Total side note, always use underscore, don't use space for some reason. And this is something I learned forever ago. Whether it's still true, I don't know, but I'm not taking that risk. Don't use space because Windows hates spaces and it will delete your files. Again, I don't know how much truth there is to that anymore, but I'm not willing to take that chance. So I use underscore for everything. So we want to save this as 2 different files. Okay, we want to save this as a Photoshop file. Boom. And then we want to save this as, and I'm going to show you a little trick. See how I have to keep going back through? It's because it's pulling from the file location as to what this file is. So I'm going to show you how to get around that. What I'm going to do is just click on this and then change this to a JPEG, which we're using the first one. Well, that's new. Obviously, I don't want to replace it, so I'm not sure what Photoshop's doing. But anyways, so I'm just going to rename it as 1, and we'll go JPEG, save, and done. Right? So now I'm going to have 2 files in there. Why do I save as a PSD? Because if we ever have to come back and pull somebody out or add somebody, you want that layered file because it's a lot more difficult to make changes to a JPEG than it is a PSD. Yes, I understand it takes up a lot more space, but coming in and fixing because, oops, that coach no longer coaches. Great, he's gone. And then I can go ahead and move these kids into one line and resize them and so on. And now I've got a new team photo, right? Can't do that with a JPEG. So make sure you save the PSD. Okay, so now I want to show you how. So what we're going to do is go back in and open up the file now. Okay. So if I come back here to row 1, actually this folder, I can delete that and now I can start fresh. So we would go through the same process. But what I want to show you real quick before I end this video is save. Remember how we had to go through each, go back through the whole thing? Well, because I reopened this as the PSD, it's going to open straight to that folder. So again, seconds are going to kill you when you've got 400 teams. So these are little things that will save time, not having to click on 4 different folders to reset these. So again, this is just a quick overview on how to make our team photos. And yeah, if you have any questions, get in touch. See ya.